It was one of the biggest mistakes of my life. I felt so ashamed afterwards. I don't think that we can ever have peace with my family unless the truth.
5 years ago, Harry and Meghan were the golden couple. A real-life fairy tale, the rogue prince and the glamorous American actress standing hand-to-hand in Windsor's castle, cheered on by millions. But fast forward to just a few years, and that same couple is now topping the internet's most hated lists. Meghan Markle is reportedly ranked number 2, and Prince Harry isn't far behind. Public opinion in the UK is a bloodbath right now. Headlines now call them grifters, and gossip blogs are saying they've gone full Hollywood. There are reports of former palace staff allegedly labeling Meghan as manipulative, and in these 5 years, they've lost their security and have been frozen out completely. Even their royal titles at this point are just technically intact. King Charles could pull the plug any minute. So what happened? How did the Sussexes go from beloved rebels to royal pariahs in record time? It's a story of rejection, rage, and a level of royal drama so personal and so messy, even the crown wouldn't dare touch it. Stay with us, because by the end of this video you'll see why Meghan and Harry aren't just unpopular, they might be the most hated royals on the planet, and why even that doesn't seem to stop them from self-destructing.
I wonder if you could rewrite your public narrative from scratch. Is there anything that you would do differently? Yes, I would ask people to tell the truth.
Now you've got to know that before Meghan, before the house in Montecito, before the Netflix deals and Spotify fallout, Prince Harry was already a tabloid magnet back in the UK, and not in a good way. From the moment he stepped into the public eye, there was one thing that the press couldn't let go: the fact that he didn't look like Charles. From the red hair, the cheekbones, and the unique smirk, the public just couldn't get enough of the speculation. You'd hear questions like, is he really a Windsor or the royal family's best kept secret? They called him Hewitt's boy, a savage reference to Major James Hewitt, Princess Diana's former lover. And while the timeline of that affair never lined up, the damage was done. Harry was the scandal that wouldn't go away. Insiders say even behind palace doors, the question of his legitimacy was never addressed. Not once, not in private. The only response to the rumors was deafening silence, and in a world of speculation and social media, that silence spoke volumes. There were reports alleging that King Charles, back when he was Prince Charles, was distant, formal, and borderline icy towards Harry, which is kind of crazy, but then you just never know. So by the time Meghan walked into his life, Harry wasn't just a royal. He was a man swimming in doubt, desperate to feel seen. The outsider of his own bloodline, and that's what made him dangerous.
It was, I think, about 3, maybe 4 weeks later that I managed to persuade her to come and join me in Botswana, and we camped out with each other under the stars, and she came and joined me for 5 days out there, which was absolutely fantastic. So,
when Meghan Markle first entered the royal picture, it felt like something out of a movie, literally. She was a TV star, a biracial American, divorced, self-made, and very outspoken. The type of personality the British public had never seen inside Buckingham Palace. Nothing about her past fit the billing of a typical royal wife, and even though Harry saw a soulmate, the firm saw a problem. Allegedly, the first meeting with William and Kate was already frosty. Meghan tried to hug Kate, but Kate didn't hug back, at least not with the same energy. She reportedly tried to crack American-style jokes, but the likes of Prince William weren't amused. One former royal aide claimed from the beginning she broke every silent rule of royal behavior, and they disliked her for it. As usual, the tabloids didn't waste time. Headlines went from Harry's happily ever after to Hollywood diva in the palace in just months. And behind the scenes, staff allegedly started calling her Duchess Difficult, blaming her for everything from early morning emails to a strict no eye contact policy. To her fans, Meghan was just a woman with standards. To the royal machine, she was a disruption they didn't sign up for, and yet, the public couldn't look away. Every event, every photo, and every sideways glance on the balcony became a gossip circus. The press loved to build her up just so they could tear her down, and she wasn't helping matters either. Even inside the palace, the cracks were showing. William was reportedly concerned that Harry was moving too fast. Charles kept things polite but distant, and Queen Elizabeth reportedly remained composed, but insiders say she was quietly watching and waiting. Because everyone knew this wasn't just a marriage, this was a royal earthquake, and Meghan was the epicenter.
You know, my brother and I love each other. I love him deeply. There has been a lot of pain between the two of us, especially the last 6 years. None of anything that I've written and anything I've included is ever intended to hurt my family.
The love story that started like a royal fairy tale had turned into a full-blown war by 2020. In public, Harry and Meghan looked picture perfect during their royal tour of Australia. Crowds screamed, the media gushed, and Meghan was glowing, but behind the cameras, the crowd was reportedly seething. Headlines began calling her the new Diana, and that, allegedly, didn't sit well with the heirs to the throne because they felt there was some sort of PR behind headlines like that. They didn't believe it could be organic. Then came the infamous ITV interview in South Africa, where an emotional Meghan said, "Not many people have asked if I'm okay."
I would say, look, any woman, especially when they're pregnant, you're really vulnerable. You add this on top of just trying to be a new mom or trying to be a newlywed. It's, yeah, well, I guess, and also thank you for asking, because not many people have asked if I'm okay.
That was all it took. The facade of a perfect marriage they had maintained for a while tumbled down completely. For the first time, the public saw the pressure behind the palace walls, and opinions split instantly. Half the world sympathized. The other half rolled their eyes, but no one expected what came next. January 2020, out of nowhere, Harry and Meghan posted their own statement on Instagram, not approved by the palace, not coordinated with the firm. They announced they're stepping back as senior royals. They wanted financial independence, and they planned to split time between the UK and North America. It was bold, it was rebellious, and it was, according to palace insiders, an all-out ambush. The Queen summoned an emergency meeting at Sandringham with William, Charles, and Harry. The Sandringham Summit, as it's famously called, went into the books as one of the tensest royal gatherings in modern history, and in the end, Harry and Meghan got what they wanted. Sort of. They kept their titles, but lost the funding, lost the security, and lost the trust, and most importantly, they no longer represented the Queen. And just like that, Megxit was born. Not just a headline, but a cultural divide. While some supporters saw escape, others saw betrayal. Either way, they weren't just leaving the palace, they were blowing it up behind them.
Does give a full picture of the situation as we were growing up, and also squashes this idea that somehow my wife was the one that destroyed the relationship between these two brothers.
If you thought Megxit was messy, then you haven't seen Harry in court. Because the minute they stepped back from royal duties, one thing became crystal clear. They were on their own. No more taxpayer-funded protection, no more palace shields, and Harry, he wasn't having it. In 2021, he filed a legal challenge against the British government demanding the right to pay for his own police protection while in the UK. He argued that he and his family faced real threats and that his status as a royal, even a non-working one, still made him a target. But just this year, after years of back and forth, Harry lost the appeal. The court ruled that the Security Committee, RAVEC, acted lawfully in cutting off his protection. Not only did they reject his case, but they also ordered him to cover nearly £1.5 million in legal costs. Talk about double punishment.
But obviously pretty gutted about the decision. We thought it was going to go our way, but it certainly has proven that there was no way to win this.
Do you know what made this ruling such a brutal and cold move? King Charles could have stepped in if he wanted to, but he didn't. According to the rumors, the monarch believed intervening would blur constitutional lines, but others say it was just another way of reminding Harry that you're not one of us anymore. If we're being honest, it's more of the latter than the former. This wasn't just about bodyguards, this was about rejection. Publicly, legally, and officially. And while Harry fought the UK government over safety, He was also suing multiple tabloids, the Daily Mail, the Mirror, and the Sun, for phone hacking, privacy violations, and defamation. It was like he was trying to settle every score all at once. One insider close to the royal circles said, "This isn't a prince defending his family, this is a man at war with the press, the palace, and his past." And to the British public, it looked like a tantrum, like a spoiled and entitled man who left his crown behind but still expected premium royal treatment. In the court of law, Harry was fighting for safety, but in the court of public opinion, he was losing something even bigger: respect.
Is that it's set a new precedent that security can be used to control members of the family. And effectively what it does is imprison other members of the family from being able to choose a different life.
After Megxit and the lawsuits, the next move was clear: rebrand the crown into content. After all, the lifestyle isn't going to fund itself, will it? Money had to come from somewhere. That was when Netflix came into the picture. In 2022, Harry and Meghan dropped their bombshell docuseries Harry and Meghan. It was glossy, emotional, and full of royalty. Viewers got private texts, wedding footage, and raw confession, some of it powerful and some of it controversial. But here's the twist. While the series shattered Netflix records, pulling in over 81 million viewing hours in its debut week, the backlash was astonishingly brutal, especially in the UK, where polls showed 2/3 of viewers walked away with a worse opinion of them. Critics accused them of being self-pitying, of cashing in on the very institution they claimed to despise. One tabloid called the show a 6-hour therapy session funded by Hollywood, and it didn't stop there. Spotify came next. Meghan launched Archetypes, a podcast meant to break down stereotypes and reclaim her narrative. The guest list was stacked from Serena Williams and Mariah Carey to Mindy Kaling. But behind the scenes, there were rumors of scripts being ghost-written, production delays, and a growing tension with Spotify execs. In 2023, Spotify pulled the plug quietly but not without shade. One top Spotify executive allegedly referred to Harry and Meghan as effing grifters. And just like that, the Sussexes had gone from global royals to branded content creators real fast. But with every deal that fizzled out and every launch that flopped, the narrative shifted. It's no longer poor Harry and Meghan. Now it was, what do they even do anymore?
I can't see a world in which I would be bringing my wife and children back to the UK at this point. And the things that they're going to miss is, well, everything.
On the outside, the Sussexes were still smiling for cameras and launching lifestyle brands, but behind the gates of Montecito, they were reportedly falling apart. In early 2025, 6 senior staffers either quit or were quietly pushed out of Team Sussex, including PR advisors, digital leads, and comms directors. One insider described it as a total wipeout. Another called it a reset or a meltdown, depending on who you ask. Critics say the environment inside Archewell had become toxic. Allegedly, Meghan was demanding, Harry was emotional, and their inner circle had turned into a revolving door. Former staff claimed there was a culture of blame where everything was everyone else's fault. To fix their image, they did what any modern celebrity brand does. They hired a new agency, and not just any agency, a top-tier Hollywood-caliber PR machine. The goal was to restore the narrative, control the chaos, and get ahead of the headlines. But instead of producing results, it all felt awkward. From the outside, it looked like luxury, but from the inside, the Sussex bubble was bursting big time.
You know, I love my country. I always have done, despite what some people in that country have done. So, you know, I miss the UK. I miss parts of the UK, of course I do. And I think that it's really quite sad that I won't be able to show, you know, my children my homeland.
You see, in America, Harry and Meghan are just another celebrity couple, but in Britain, they're flat out traitors. If you think that's hyperbole or an exaggeration, no hard feelings, but the numbers say it all. Recent polling shows that 65% of Brits have a negative view of Meghan, and Harry's approval has nosedived by 36%, which is a stunning fall, all things considered. Newspapers now openly mock them, radio hosts call them names, and even members of parliament have taken subtle jabs at the couple. But do you know what's crazy about these numbers? They're not even living in the UK anymore. Across the pond in the US, it's a different vibe. Public opinion is softer, or you could call it lukewarm, but not hostile. Meghan still scores around 16 to 20% favorability, Harry hovers around 35%. To many Americans, they're viewed as victims of outdated traditions. Their Oprah interview resonated with them, as did their message about mental health, racism, and breaking generational trauma. But even all that good vibe is starting to fade. They once had the Obamas, Oprah, Tyler Perry, and Ellen in their corner. Now, the red carpet invites have slowed down. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have now been left off the guest list at some of Hollywood's most exclusive galas in recent months. Now the question is less about do we support them and more about are they still relevant? In Britain, they're scorned. In America, they're tolerated, but globally, they're slipping into something worse. Indifference.
Your brother told you, pretend we don't know each other.
Yeah, and at the time it hurt. I couldn't make sense of it. I was like, what do you mean? We're now at the same school. Like, I haven't seen you for ages. Now we get to hang out together? He's like, no, when we're at school, we don't know each other.
At this point, you might be wondering, how did Harry and Meghan go from wedding of the century vibes to public enemies #1 so fast? Well, it's easy. It wasn't just one scandal that brought them to this point, it was a perfect storm of three forces all working against them. The first force is the narrative whiplash. You see, the public fell in love with the fairy tale, the charity events, the Diana parallels, but then the couple decided that wasn't enough and turned all that goodwill into lawsuits, media deals, and royal takedowns. One thing they didn't seem to comprehend is that people hate feeling duped. The audience didn't evolve with them as they expected, they just turned on them. The second force that worked against them was the way they broke the royal code of silence. For centuries, royals don't explain, they don't complain. They wave, they bow, they vanish behind curtains. But Harry and Meghan aired it all out. Oprah, Netflix, podcasts, court docs, you name it. Too many traditionalists, that wasn't brave, it was betrayal. The third and final force that worked against the Sussexes was the media. Let's be honest, the tabloids and gossip blogs need Harry and Meghan. They are clickbait gold. Every outfit, every lawsuit, and every quote gets blown up. They're trapped in a loop where everything they do keeps on fueling the machine that keeps slamming them. Love them or loathe them, one thing is clear. Harry and Meghan are still the center of the storm. They walked away from the crown to protect their peace, but in doing so they stepped into something even louder. A global spotlight with no off switch. They've lost royal protection, lost public favor, and according to insiders, they've even lost parts of their own inner circle, yet through it all, they're still standing, still doing interviews, and still signing deals. They're still telling their story, whether the world wants to hear it or not, or whether it's true or not. To some, that's strength. To others, it's ego. Either way, the world can't look away. They've become mirrors, reflecting everything we love, hate, and question about fame, royalty, race, and rebellion. And whether they're in the headlines for being a rebrand flop or a legal feud with the palace, one thing always remains true. They move the culture, so what do you think? Are Harry and Meghan victims of a centuries-old system that was never built to accept them, or are they two PR-obsessed ex-royals who couldn't stop talking when the camera started rolling? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and spill your hottest take. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell, because if there's one thing we know about the royal family, the drama is never really over.